Hi, Flosstube. It's Kara, the Granite State Stitcher, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. And today is Sunday, May 11th. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope that you had a wonderful day. I had my mother and I went over to my son's house for brunch. Um, his wife Sarah cooked, a beautiful breakfast, and her parents were there, and her grandmother, and they announced that she's pregnant. So, yay, I'm going to be a grandmother again. I am so happy. I can't wait. She's due in November. So, it's going to be a fun filled summer full of probably I'll get out a baby sampler to stitch, and of course the knitting needles will come out and I'll have to knit something too. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So if you are new and just happen to find me, thanks so much for stopping by. Say hello to me down in the comment section so I can say hello back to you. And if you are a current subscriber and are returning for another video, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Okay, so the first, before we get into Mania, I just wanted to do a quick Joann's update. Um, for those of you who may be new, my cousin is a manager at Joann's, and she, just we were having a conversation, and I told her that I was surprised at how much inventory Joann still has, and she told me that they do. They still have a lot of inventory in their warehouses, and that they don't have a drop dead closing date. It was going to be May 31st, but now they are definitely not saying that. She says that they do not know when their actual closing date is going to be. So, she just wanted people to know that. And also, I believe it's starting this week. If you go in to buy fabric, they will no longer be cutting the fabric. You have to buy the whole bolt. Um, so I guess that those are the two changes that you should be aware of. I went to the Joann's in Concord last Thursday, and I expected to walk in there and see, bare bones, hardly anything. But I have to say, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, at how much stock they had. The only thing I think that was pretty much sold out, was all gone, was the floral arrangements, the floral section. They didn't have any of that stuff left. But they had plenty of yarn, plenty of fabric, plenty of sewing notions, plenty of knitting notions, um, Cricut, stuff for Cricut machines. They had sewing machines. Um, so they still had a lot of stuff, which again, I was really happy to see. So I got, and floss. They had so much floss. Now they didn't have every single color, but they had a lot of floss. So definitely, if you haven't been to Joann's since, the first weekend when it was a mob scene and the lines were out the door, definitely go back and check out your Joann's, because you don't know what's going to be there. I think I'm going to head over to the one that's in my town or the next town over, probably sometime this week, because it is a larger Joann's store. So I'll be interested in see what they have, compared to the Concord store. But I did end up getting a whole bolt of quilt batting, the cotton quilt batting, which I was very surprised to see that they had some left, because, I know that the quilt batting was sold out like right after that first weekend. So obviously they got more in. But I got a huge bolt as tall as me, and it was wide all the way around. I think it's 20 yards, and I got it for $99. Normally, $199. and then they had, or 219, normally 219, and then they had the wool batting too, and that was $199, normally $319. So I might go back and pick up one of the big bolts of the wool batting. But I also got interfacing, which I was very surprised to find that there. And again, they were selling the interfacing by the bolt. So I got a bolt of the regular and then a bolt of the fusible. So I can always use that. And then I got some cutting shears. I picked up some knitting needles that I'm going to give to Allie. And beads, I got some beads. Their bead section was still pretty well stocked. And buttons. I got a couple bags of buttons. I got a couple bags of the poly pellets because I've never tried using those before. So I did pick up a couple bags of those. Anxious to give those a try for finishing. So anyway, definitely go check out your Joann's and see what they have, because I think that it's more there than what you'll expect, or at least what I did. I may even pick up a second sewing machine just to have here at the house in case one of my friends comes over to stitch, or my mother, or Allie. My daughter's coming to visit in August, so there'll be a sewing machine here that she can use if she wants to. So definitely go check it out. And I have the floss tube itchy nose going on tonight. Okay, so first week of Maynia is done. Second week started for me on Thursday. So I will go into what I'll be stitching for the second week of Maynia. But let's review what I got done for the first week. And I got so much. I got so much done. I got more done than I thought I would. So it was a good week. Well, number one, it was raining all week. We've had so much rain up here in New England so far this spring. It's ridiculous. Today was the first day it's been sunny in probably a week and a half. It did stop raining yesterday around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I ventured out. I said, okay, I'm going to go over to the nursery, the flower nursery. There's a really, really nice one in town, and that's where everybody goes. It's my mother's favorite flower nursery. And I went over there to get her a gift card. The place was packed. It was packed. I have never seen it so busy. And I was talking to the cashier, and she said, oh, yeah, she goes, everybody knows that tomorrow's finally going to be a good day. So they're here getting all their stuff. Plus, it was Mother's Day. So double whammy. But anyway, so it was rainy. I couldn't get any yard work done. Today I did clean the deck. I did get some yard work done, so I was happy. I felt accomplished. So I got a lot of stitching done last week. So the first one that I worked on, that was number one for Maynia, was, and for those of you who don't know, I'm doing Maynia, but I'm doing a patriotic Maynia where I am stitching a different patriotic project every day. And I had actually done this last year. So basically, I'm working on the whips that I had started for last year, and trying to get some floss into them, show them some love. So the first one that I worked on was Home of the Brave by Mystic Stitch. Jason Bullard is the designer. And this is full coverage, no joke. So let me show you what I got done with this. So I had wanted to get the top bar done, and that's basically the whole top section of page 1 of this stitch. So if I have a before picture, I tried to remember to take before pictures of these. I will put it up here. And this is what I got done. So this is the whole top line. Like I said, this is the second letter E. And there is so much confetti stitching in here. I don't know if you can see it if I hold it up close, but some of these stitches, you know, like you look at this one right here. I think that was a single stitch of that color. But really, really a lot of confetti stitching. So I came to the realization on this piece that, yeah, you can tell it's a letter E if I hold it this way. So here's the border and then the 3 bars coming out. So I'm going to have to make a couple decisions about this. Number one, I don't know if I'm going to have to use a new fabric for this. This is an 18 count white Aida. And normally for 18, 16, and 14 counts, I will use 2 strands of floss over one. And of course, this being full coverage, that's not a good idea, at least on 18 count. The stitching was very tight, and so I'm going to have to experiment. I'm going to pull this out and stitch probably half of this over, maybe using one strand of floss to see how that works out. You know, if I decide to do that, I'll just cut this out. It's no big deal. I'll redo it. But I may have to go to 16 or 14. And normally I do the 2 strands because, especially with white Aida, because I don't, especially if I'm using dark colors, I don't like the white to show through where the dark colors are. But I think on this pattern, I don't think it'll matter, because if you look at the pattern, you know, the colors are broken up anyway, and this is all confetti stitching over here. So I think even if the white shows through the darker colors, I don't think it will bother me. It will look like it was meant to be like that. So that's number one. Number two, I think I'm going to have to experiment either using the cross-country method or the parking method when I stitch this. I'm the type of stitcher that if I have a certain color strand of floss, I will go and do all the blocks that are that one color just to get them done. Then I'll come back with color number 2 and fill in all the blocks that are that color. And maybe going to a lower count fabric, a 14 or 16, I'll still be able to do that. It was definitely hard with the 18. I'm not a big fan of parking, but we'll see. We'll see if I do end up doing that. And if I do, because of all the confetti stitching and the fact that I'll be changing colors so frequently, I'm definitely going to have to, when I pull this out again and decide how I'm going to stitch it, I'm going to have to devote some designated stitching time just to this project, not pulling it only out for a day. I actually stitched on this for quite a while. I put in over 9 hours just getting that top section of page 1 done. So, but I'm gonna have to get the magnetic strip, have all the different needles that have the different colored floss already in, you know, ready to go, because it took up time changing out the floss and stitching whatever those were, then changing out the floss. So I'll definitely be rethinking how I want to stitch this when I pull it out again. But I love it. I didn't mind stitching it. I think I'm just going to have to use a different method and a different fabric, but we'll see. So um, that was good. Oh, and I noticed that when I was stitching last week, because I had said when I did my video about Maynia, that I was going to designate a couple hours, 1 to 3 hours each night for each project. But after stitching that one, and like I said, that went 9 hours. That was over two nights. And I just didn't want to put it down. I wanted to get that block finished. And that's how I felt with all the other ones I pulled out too. It went from having a designated time allocated to, no, I want to get this section done. I want to get this motif done, or I want to get this much done. Um, so instead of being a time oriented thing, it became a goal oriented thing, which I think was a good, which was good because I feel like I got a lot accomplished. I got done what I wanted to get done. So the second project for Maynia was 4th of July Rules by Lindsay White, Primrose Cottage. And here's that pattern. And when I had shown you this before, all I had done was that number 4 right there. And this is being stitched on a 20 count cork linen with DMC. And this is being stitched with 2 strands over 1. And this is how much I got done. And I stitched on this for 3.5 hours, but I wanted to get this done, and I was hoping to get the July finished, but that's okay. So, and I like how that one looks. Okay, number 3 was God Bless America sampler, and this is by Artful Offerings, and that's what that one looks like. And when I showed this to you before, here's the before picture if I remember to take it. I only had this part of the flagpole done. And this is being stitched on 25 count Silver Moon Lugana with a combination of Weeks, Dye Works, and DMC. And this one is being stitched 2 over 2. And I got the whole flagpole done. So I was happy how that came out. I made one mistake down here at the bottom. There is supposed to be a space in between the pole and the cording, like how it is right here. But I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to pull it out. There's nothing else down here that will affect, so it's fine. But I love stitching on this Lugana. It's really, really nice fabric. And next was Americano. by Rosewood Manor. And when I showed this to you last time, I had this red, I don't even know what it is, whatever this is, up here. And I had these crosses that are here in the pattern done. I do think I have a before picture to show you for this one. And this is being stitched on 32 count antique white, Belfast linen. Oh, my needle is still in there, but I finished that flag. I just need to put the red motifs here on the sides. There we go. Now, what I did notice when I pulled this out and I started, because I finished the crosses and then I started stitching the light blue. And then when I pulled out the blue to start stitching this inside part right here, I noticed that I'd actually used the wrong color. This color blue was supposed to be where the crosses are, and this darker blue was supposed to be this inside blue, but I think it looks fine. I don't think it will matter. So that is Americano. That's a bright stitch. I love this stitch. I love all these. And the floss on that is DMC, called for. Next one was my Flag Day pin cushion. And I know I didn't have a before to show you on this one because I hadn't started it. And this was a kit from Shepherd's Bush. And here's the pattern. And oh, sorry, that was my stomach in case you heard that. And it came as, like I said, it was a kit. So it came with everything. It came with the fabric, it came with the finishing fabric, all the flosses and the chenille, and then 2 little buttons and a needle. And the fabric that came with this is a 32 count twill linen. And when I was stitching this, I had the hardest time, and I'm usually stitching on 32 count. That's usually my go-to linen. But for some reason, I just could not see what I was doing. I had to pull out my magnifier, and I wear magnifiers, but I had to pull out my magnifier light and have the light. And I was stitching during the day too, but I was just having the darndest time. So here we go. So this is the base. That's the little knoll that the sheep is standing on, and those are his legs. So this green part right here and his legs. So I should really keep this one out. I probably can finish this because I did all that and it took me less than an hour. Maybe I'll pull this back out in July for 4th of July stitching. If I don't decide to do Christmas in July, I don't know yet. Or I'll be working on a baby sampler. Can you tell I'm just over the moon? I'm so happy. Finally, and I'll tell you something funny. I picked up my mother and we were driving there. Now, nobody Nobody, even Sarah's side of the family. We didn't think that they were going to have kids because they had never really indicated that they had wanted to have kids. And, you know, they love going on their trips and doing their thing, which is fine. Um, and we were talking about it, you know, on driving there. And I even told my mother, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm probably never going to get any grandkids, you know, from Sarah and Nick. I'll just have to wait for Caitlin to have another child. And we get there, and Sarah made a comment um, about because they had her cousin's 1 year old birthday party yesterday, and they were talking about how the 1 year old just like wasn't into. They made him a little cake, and he wasn't really into it, and just didn't want anything to do with it at all. He didn't want that cake on his high chair. And so Sarah made the comment like, oh, well, I guess we'll see how our child acts in a year and a half when he's one. And I heard her make the comment, but it was kind of like, oh, so I guess they are planning on having kids. Yay. And both my mother and her grandmother are just sitting there, and her parents are just sitting there. And then Nick's like, well, I guess that just went over everybody's head. Sarah's pregnant. And we're still just sitting there like, really? Because even her parents didn't think that they were planning on having kids. And finally, my mother says, are you joking? And her grandmother says, did I hear you right? Are you joking? And Nick and Sarah were like, no, no. And Sarah's like, I'm pregnant. I'm 13 weeks. And finally, we're like, oh, wow. You know, because it was just clear out of the blue. We totally were not expecting it. So it was just funny. But I am so excited. Okay, so the next one was Freedom, again by Rosewood Manor, one of my favorite pattern designers. And the last time I showed you this one, I had the red F done up here in the corner. And this is being stitched on 32 count Marquee by Picture This Plus. And there's only two colors, Merlot and Fathom by Weeks Dye Works. It's just red and blue. So I decided to go down the side instead of across. So I got a second F finished. And there you go. I love this. I love this one. I love everything about this. I love the pattern. I love the fabric. I love working on this. It was easy. Now, see, I didn't have any problems working on this 32 count, so I just don't know why I had so many problems with that other one, unless it's not really a 32, but who knows. Okay, then the last project for last week was the mini firecracker sampler by Nutmeg Needle. And here's that pattern. And when I showed this to you last time, I only had the blue and the white done in the A. That's it. And I remember in my previous video saying, oh, I want to get all three letters done because I had to find a red that I could use that would be variegated. So I did substitute out Weeks Dye Works Cayenne. So I use that for red, and for blue, I'm using Weeks Dye Works Deep Sea, because the blue and the red are that needles floss, which I have no idea what that is. I'm not sure they even make it. The date on this pattern is 1995, and it says that the floss was provided by Nutmeg Needle. So I don't know if it can. I suspect that this came with a kit, because when I was looking at this, I noticed that This is a button right here. And on the back it says button, Mill Hill button. And I don't have the button. So I suspect that maybe this was a kit when it was first issued. And this is being stitched on 28 count summer khaki linen. It's great. I love it. I love the color. It's easy. It's almost like an even weave. I'm wondering if it is. It says linen on the bag that it came in, but it stitches like an even weave. And I don't see any, oh, well, I guess there are a couple. No, I don't see any sloughs in here, but anyway, here we go. I got all the letters stitched. So, and that was a good place to stop on this because the next row, the next couple of rows get into specialty stitches. There's a row of rice stitches, and then there's a row of Smyrna, and then going on down there's Hardinger. I'm like, oh, okay. We're going to be learning some new stitches with this one. So that's it for my Maynia selections, my patriotic pieces. The Mirabilia piece that was designated for week 1 was Angel of the New Dawn, and I didn't, as much as I got stitching done into these, I did not get a lot of stitching done in her. So I am going to carry her over to week 2 and pulling out Lady of the Flag. She's the designated Mira piece for week 2. So I'll be working on both of those. But let me now pull together what my Patriotic Maynia stitches are for this coming week. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So the first one that came up on the wheel was Colors of Freedom. I'm so happy. I love this one. Now, week 2 started on Thursday, so I've already started some of these, but I will wait and just show you in the week 2 recap. I'm not gonna like show you a couple now and then show you the rest next week, or this week, I should say. Okay, so that's in this book by Stony Creek, Colors of Freedom. And it is this one right here on the back for Air Force. Both my kids, my daughter is still in. She's going to be a lifer, and my son was in for two terms, and he got out, and now he's a police officer. So I was just thinking today that I need to find a police officer one to do for him. But anyway, so this is being stitched on 14 count navy Aida with all the called for DMC and the Krynic colors. And I haven't looked at these since last year, so I have no idea where I am, how much I got started. So it will be a surprise. Some of these are probably going to be pretty pitiful. So here's where I am. I got the U done and started the S. So, but I'll say something. I do like the way, this is all Krynic. I do like the way that this Krynic is sitting on this 14 count. I didn't have any problems with this at all. So that's Colors of Freedom. I'll probably be stitching this one twice because I'm sure that both of my kids will want one. And the next one is Founding Promises by Silver Creek Samplers. And this one right here. And this is being stitched on 18 count parchment Aida, all DMC. And let's see where I am on this one. Oh boy. I don't even know what that is. Oh, it's a flagpole. Yay. I guess I just have a thing about flagpoles. So here's the flagpole going down the side. Not a big start, but it looks like I have the flagpole and then there is some white here. If you can see that, if I bring that in closer. So that must be the start of the flag. Yep. All right, well, we'll definitely have to see if we can get farther along on this other than a flagpole. Okay, the next one is July by the Cricket Collection. I'm sure you've all seen this pattern before. And this I am stitching on 32 count splash mint with white polka dots, Lugana, with all the called for DMC. All right, so looks like I have, what is this? Okay, so I started here, the top of the J, and that's what I have stitched. The top, the Uncle Sam's hat on the top of the J. Isn't this fabric cool? It's probably getting washed out, sorry. I know I'm filming at nighttime, so I have my, oh, there you go, you can see it. You can see it up here. I have my overhead light on and I shut that one off behind me because it was really bad. I just have the one on my stove, my oven lit. All right, so hopefully this will get a lot more stitches put in. Next is Liberty Hill Farm by Summerhouse Stitches, Summerhouse Stitch Works. Okay, I believe that I'm doing this larger drum. Excuse me. And this is being stitched on 32 count vintage Stormy Night Lugana with all the called for DMC. And I just started the top border. So not a big start. So we'll try to get more of that border done. Excuse me. I'm going to pause you so I can go grab a drink of water. Sorry about that. That was a nasty little coughing fit. Still experiencing it. Okay, the next one is A Day for Freedom. And this pattern is by Stitches by Ethel. There it is. So adorable. And this is being stitched on 28 count lamb's wool Jobelin with DMC, all the called for DMC and Classic Colorworks. So I think it goes this way. And this is the cardinal sitting on top of the mouse's tail. This is going to be so cute. Next up is one of my favorites. This is Lincoln's Eagle by Teresa Kogut. I absolutely love this. When my wheel spun this pattern last year and I was kitting it up, I knew I had the perfect fabric for this. And it is an 18 count Aida color curry. And it's perfect. It's so perfect. And I got the border done. You know I'm a border person. There she is. Now, there's a couple of rows that go around this border. Let me see how many. Oh, floss all over me. This border is pretty thick, so the top looks like, gosh, there's probably 5 or 6 rows. So you can see it's pretty thick. Then it goes down the sides, and then on the bottom it continues, and then it starts with the writing. So I don't know if I'm going to go finish the top and the sides and then start in with the writing when I'm down here. Probably I will. Probably I'll get that out of the way. So love this, love the fabric, love everything about this. And this is being stitched with the called for DMC and Weeks Dye Works. And then the last one for week 2 of Maynia is Liberty Games by Erica Michaels. And here's that pattern. I'm sure you've all seen this. Pam from Pam and Stuff stitched this a couple years ago. Sorry about that. Had another coughing fit. So, Liberty Games. I had to think for a minute where we left off. I believe I said this is being stitched on 28 count mushroom Lagana with all the called for Weeks Dye Works and DMC. And that's all I have done. And that is, the start up here in Congress. So there we go. Those are the plans for week 2. What came up on the wheel. So like I said, I've already been working on a couple of these, but we'll do the full review next week. And I will definitely get some stitching done on Lady of the Flag and more stitching done on Angel of the New Dawn. because like I said, I really didn't get a lot done on her last week because I really devoted a lot of time to the patriotic mania stitching. So upcoming this week, we have Celebrations of Needlework here in Nashua, New Hampshire. And it is a 4-day, it starts Wednesday afternoon, and it goes through till Saturday night. So there's a dinner Wednesday evening to start things off, and then there's a dinner Saturday night to close everything out. Last year I did go to the dinners, and I think I went every single day last year because they have guest speakers and guest designers, and they have a mall where they have vendors set up, um, with their patterns or fabrics. It's really nice, really nice. And then they have a designated area where you can just sit and stitch all day if that's what you want to do. You can take classes. They have lectures. Last year, like I said, I went to the dinners. I sat in on 3 of the lectures, which were all very interesting. I took I think I took 4 classes last year. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. This year, I think I'm only going on Friday and Saturday. There were a couple lectures that I thought I might be interested in, but I didn't sign up for them. If they're not full, maybe I'll see if I can get in if I feel like, sitting in on one. You had to register in advance to sit in on them. But I did sign up for, I believe, 3 classes. One of the guest designers this year is going to be, oh gosh, I'll have to put her full name up here. I only know her as Rami from Rami's Creations, but I think it's Romella. I'm not going to remember it, so I'll just put it up here. But she's going to be the guest designer, one of the guest designers, and then they have other guest crafters. So that's going to be fun. Like I said, I think I'm only going Friday and Saturday, but that's subject to change. And I think that's the only thing I have going on this coming week. It is supposed to be overcast. Tomorrow's supposed to be gorgeous. But then it's supposed to be overcast for the rest of the week. The rain comes back on Thursday, and it's supposed to rain Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I hope that Mother Nature gets all the rain out of her system now before summer gets here so we can enjoy summer. But so that's it for this week. So thanks for joining me, and definitely tune in next week when I'll have the recap for week 2. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great week wherever you are. I hope it's not raining wherever you are. And happy stitching. Take care. Bye-bye.